All right. Um. All right.
Just say you're playing.
All right. So, my name is Nicholas Crowder. I'm here with my mom. The date is December 10th, 2025, and we are recording this interview in Chicago, Illinois. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay. Before we start, how was your day?
Very productive.
All right. So, I'm just gonna ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Answer as honestly as possible, and as long as you want to. I'm not gonna cut you off or anything. So if you have a lot to say, please. Um, okay. Number one, my first question is for you is how was your childhood? Tell me about it, and if I remind you of you, if I remind you of you at all.
Childhood. Definitely different than you guys' childhood today. We had my childhood actually very fun. A lot of fun. I grew up on a block where it was cut off by factory, so it was pretty much 2 blocks. So you had those 2 blocks, the 2 blocks on the next street behind you, and it was a major street above us. But basically, we all knew each other. We did. My dad and one of the next door neighbors made sure that the empty lot behind our house the grass was always cut, and it was always groomed because that's where we would play softball. So we practically during the summer would play softball almost every day. Um, we used to call the blocks behind us, which was on Kilbourne, because I grew up on 15th and Kenneth. So the 1400 block and the 1500 block, we used to call it a ghost town because it was factories back there. So technically during the weekend, there was really no traffic. So we had free reign to technically really ride our bikes up and down the street with not a lot of traffic. If we didn't want to play softball in the lot, we would play strike 'em out in one of the little areas where the trucks would kind of bag up into. We would draw the box right there, and we would have our bases there. Um, we rode bikes in groups. You kind of knew where all the kids were because you would see all the bikes in front of the houses. We did have a park that was a couple of blocks up, but we didn't really go to the park too much. Even if we did, we went in groups. There was a store across the major street, so when we went to the store, we usually always went together. Right across the street from our building was a church. The church did a lot in the community, so we had a really big youth choir. Um, we would go skating. We would go to the movies. Like we always had some things to do. Gangs was a thing. However, back at that point, if stuff was happening or about to happen, they would send you, they would kind of go ahead, go on where you going or go home or whatever. Also,
Let the gang members.
yes, the gang members would necessarily tell you, go home. Ain't
You,
nothing
you
over here
trying to
for
go?
you.
Yeah.
Go back that way. Or they even looked out for you. You kind of be like, why you over here? You stay over. So, it was a little different. There was a lot of respect for churches. There was no hanging out on church steps. Men would remove their hats when they walked past a church. There was no, like I said, sitting or smoking or drinking on church steps. You had those that would help the seniors carry their grocery up the stairs or get their groceries out the car. We used to not ride bikes. We used to wash cars on the block. When it would snow, everyone would come out and help people get their cars out. And again, we had the big lot behind, and we would just go out there and just dunk each other in the snow, throw snowballs. We just had a lot of fun, and everybody knew each other. There was really no conflict or no fights. You would fight, but then it's like in a couple hours, you don't even know what you fought for, or it was over something crazy or something stupid. We had to be in when the street lights came on, or you had to at least be in the vicinity where if your mom looked out the window or whatever, she could see you.
Mm-hmm.
We had one lady who one young I won't say her name, but her mom would come stand on the back porch and just say the girl's name, and she had a very powerful voice. So we would say, your mom's looking for you, or your mom on the porch calling you, or whatever. But yeah, and even to this day, I still talk to the people I grew up with, even though a lot of us don't stay. Some of them still stay over there, but we still talk. We used to have a community, the block club parties. So when those block club parties go, pretty much everyone will come back over on the block. Will contribute to the block club, whether it's donating food, toys, candy, any or whatever. We'd always go back. Father's Day, majority of the guys that grew up on the block get back together on the block. It was your family. It was who you grew up with. And I lived over there from about 3rd grade until my oldest child, your sister, was 2 years old. So from the 3rd grade to 2002, roughly.
So you were in 3rd grade in what, 1987?
Because I graduated grammar school in 1990, high school in 94, and college in 99. So yes, it was in the 80s.
Okay, well I have 2 sub questions from that. Explain to me like the rules of strikeout. Like how was that played?
So there's a box. So you didn't necessarily have a bat catcher.
Mm-hmm. So nobody was like catching the pitch.
Right, because they were usually fast pitch balls. So, okay. And back then we didn't necessarily have the gear. So playing softball was a little different. Yeah. No, softball wasn't as dangerous, but strike 'em out would kind of be a little dangerous with no gear on, and you got this fast pitch ball coming at you. And we had 2 individuals. I believe his name was Al, and the other guy I believe was Mark, and they actually played softball. They were older than us, but they still played and hung out with us. They weren't much older than us, but I want to say one of the guys, actually 2 of them, probably played baseball through grade school, high school, and probably college. And I think one of them may have done he was Hispanic, of that community. I don't want to say exactly what he was, but he was something within that community. So, he always teach us the rules. So basically, you draw an outer box, and then there's an inner box. Mm-hmm. So if you go inside this inner box, it's a strike. Anything on the outer box is like a ball. So it's kind of like the same instructions with baseball and softball. You got strikes and you have balls. And then, you hit it, and then you would run the bases. You still run the bases regular way. In the other game, we used to play inside the truck depot, whatever, not sure what you called it, was we would play a game called Off the Wall. Where you just you play it in your room that I kind of bounce and then you bounce it and you allow somebody to catch it.
Yeah, I love that game.
And then whoever catches it now comes up and does it. So that's kind of how we did turns. We would do it either inside the bus depot or we would do it off the side of the factory, depending on how many of us were playing. And then we would just kind of sit up under the at the lot was a guardrail, so you kind of sit along. We would just kind of sit up along the guardrail, talk, eat. We had a lady on the block that sold icy cups and candy, so a lot of times you didn't necessarily have to go to the store. There was this little restaurant kind of like on the corner where you can go get hot dog, piece of puffs, some simple stuff like that. So we didn't necessarily really have to go too far. Back then you would hang your clothes out on the back porch and let them air dry, as opposed to really turning the dryer and stuff on. Some really good times.
My other question is, well, first, how much, what was the average age range between you two? Those 2 guys are older. What was the average age?
All of us were pretty much within the same. All of us were pretty much within about the same age range. So from 7, I would probably say, it was probably kind of like a difference where it's some of us were in grade school. I mean, like in maybe middle school. They may have been in upper ages of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then like kind of like when we were in the upper ages of high school, they were kind of like grown.
Yeah.
So I really don't know exactly what the age group is. So if you think about it, your Uncle Tim is 3 years older than I am. So some of them were maybe 2 years or maybe a year or whatever older than him.
Oh.
And then me and your auntie, we are 8 years apart. She's 8 years younger than I am. So, you know, it was...
Uncle Timmy's 3 years older than you?
Yes, he is.
That's outrageous. Okay, well, then my next question was, like, were you good at softball? Like, did you have, like, a mean pitch, a mean swing?
I am a good pitcher. They always wanted me to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
The catching I wouldn't necessarily do.
So you weren't good at outfield at all?
Nah, outfield really wasn't my thing. I would do it, but usually I was always the pitcher.
Like all-time pitcher?
Like I would always pitch.
No, like when I say all-time pitcher, it's like if I'm outside playing football, all-time QB is like I'm the quarterback for both teams. Like I'm the quarterback.
We would only do that if it wasn't enough of us playing, but sometimes the teams and stuff were so big, we didn't necessarily have to. Or it became sometimes where it was I just pitched for both teams.
You know how raw that is? You got to be raw to pitch.
So it was fun. And then what was it, last year? No, not last year. Year before last. We had a softball game for with our sorority.
Yep. And
I was the pitcher.
Yep.
Like so I pitched a couple innings and it's like we want you to keep pitching. So I kind of didn't lose that thing of pitching, but it was just fun. It kept you active. Mm-hmm. It gave you something to do. Like I want to say it wasn't, it was one of them things. You go outside. You went outside. You go play outside. You're not gonna keep running in and out. We was in that age where you got thirsty. You would drink from the water hose. You would play outside in the real hot heat. They would bust open the fire hydrant. You run through the fire hydrant. But I also grew up spending summers in Arkansas in extreme heat. And my great-grandmother was one of them people, you eat breakfast, you don't come back in here looking for nothing to eat till lunch.
That's outrageous.
And then you don't come back in here looking for nothing to eat till dinner. So we used to keep the bacon rinds, probably why I like pork skins to this day. But we always had that thick bacon that had that rind on it. So it's like you would eat the bacon, but you would keep the rind and put it in a paper towel and just keep it in your pocket. You could pull out the rind and eat it.
Okay, well, we'll move on. But before then, how do you put, after you take off the top of the fire hydrant, how do you put it back on? Or do you not? Do you call somebody to come put it back on?
Once you take the cap off? It depends. Like sometimes you got somebody that knows how to put the cap back on. A lot of times not, because the water is coming out so powerful. But I think eventually we got someone that had a tool to actually turn it on and off, and then they would put the cap back on it. But then you would put your tires, your empty tires around the bottom, and then you'll find a piece of wood, like a really strong piece of wood or something, to put down in between the tires to actually get it to flow up and not just flow out. You wanted it to kind of flow over, so you kind of stand up under it, kind of make it like a waterfowl.
Yeah. Okay, well, my second question is, how would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered?
Yes. Like in the general eye.
General eye.
Like people who knew you, how would you want them to remember you?
That I was always who I was always.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
Like there was no, I am who I am. Like even if we didn't necessarily get along, but we had to share common space. Most people, if they did not know we didn't get along, they would not have known that we didn't get along, because I treat, one thing I always have learned is to always treat people how you would want them to treat you. Even though you have given them chance after chance and they still
And it
treat
hurts
you
me.
a certain way, I still can't necessarily wholeheartedly really be nasty and mean back to that individual, especially if it was a need there. Like if there's a way I can help, something happened and I had a way to help you, or I would still help you even though I know we don't necessarily really like each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was me, that you wouldn't do it, because I've learned, my grandmother and my auntie have always kept trying to tell me that I'm still learning it, but I cannot expect myself out of other people.
Bars.
Like what I would do or how I would respond, I can't always expect that from the next person or from the same person. And then I also had to learn that when you do good and you're being good, you're not going to receive it from the person you do it to. Because that person will still probably always mistreat you, but you're still nice to them. But that your blessing, as they would say, or your reward for that is not going to come back from that individual. It's going to come from somebody else, and it's going to come in a different way.
I just want to say, for the record, my name is Nicholas, and I'm here with Shakespeare. It's December 10th, 2025, and we're recording this in Chicago, Illinois. So, scratch the first time I said that.
Well, you have to realize I was named after a very
influential poet.
Very influential poet. And
oh yes, tell the people, what is your full name?
Nikki Giovanni Young Crowder.
Yes, guys, mama myself.
So yes, I was named after Nikki Giovanni. She, at the time of my birth, was my godmother's favorite.
Oh.
She was like godmother's favorite poet and writer. So she gave me her name. And then she also said that when I was born, she saw and could tell that I would be a great individual, very intelligent, enlightening, just a positive person to this. So she was like, she gave me her name. Even though it took me a while, I was like, I can't live up to that name. Still can never live up to the name.
As one does.
But, I love it. And I use my whole name all the time.
It's a beautiful thing to carry around.
You would always, if I'm writing my name, it's usually always written all the way out. Or you're going to at least get every last initial, and then it kind of opens it up to where and most people from college, now they don't remember my last name, but they all remember the Nikki Giovanni. Because I always said my whole name. Like, so when I run into people that I went to college with, and I'd be like, and they be like, you look familiar, I don't remember your name. And I'd be like, Nikki. And then they'd be like, Nikki Giovanni. And I'd be like, yep.
That's funny. Okay, well, my next question is, if you could do everything again, would you raise me differently? Be honest, don't lie. This is his face. It's a good one, isn't it?
It is.
Thank you. I got that from Jakari. Shout out.
You are not a bad kid. You actually never have been a bad kid. You've always been quiet, reserved to yourself.
Really?
Has always had a great personality. Have always been oh
gosh, she stopped shaking her leg. Get serious.
No, I'm just trying to, remember you as a kid and then remember you now. Like you were always a sweetheart. You're still a sweetheart. Sometimes you can be a little.
Sometimes.
But who is it? Would I have raised you differently? I think the only thing I probably would have done different is I don't think I would have introduced you guys to technology.
That's the same thing my dad said.
As early as you guys were now I didn't choose to introduce you guys into. Your father is actually the one that introduced
the same
you.
Thing my dad said.
And I kind of was like, I don't think they're old enough for it. But he, so I think that's probably the only big thing is that I should have just stood my ground on that you guys are not old enough to have access to technology as early as you all did. But that is probably the only one thing. Oh, and probably... No, the other thing is probably because I was pretty much a stay-at-home mom with y'all, so you were used to me always cleaning up behind you, always washing your clothes. So it's kind of like now that you're older, it's like I never really taught you
how to do those
things because I always did them.
Yeah.
Like the chore type of stuff. I never really, got you too, but this is just also with the difference of how I grew up and the things now, because like, yes, I'm a lady, but I can change my own tire.
Period.
I can change my oil if I have to.
Period.
I know how to check my oil. I know how to check my light. Like I can kind of make my way around under the hood of car, checking my fuses.
Don't know what that is.
I can fix stuff in the house. I'm pretty good with some power tools. I use a saw and I use the type of stuff.
they might know.
I use that type of stuff frequently. It was always, you had to be prepared because you were not always sure that you would have someone
to do those things.
To do those type of things. And that I'm spoiled. We're spoiled. All of us were actually spoiled. But it's like Dad may not always be there to call, or he may not always get there. So you got to be able to change a flat or try to figure out what's wrong with something. A leak on the sink. Okay, get you a wrench and tighten it up. Yeah. So I'm pretty good about, tools. And then I have all my uncles and great uncles that I've watched in Arkansas build houses from nothing.
Actually?
Yeah, we've actually.
Who built the house? Uncle Marvin?
Uncle Marvin, Uncle Sammy, Uncle
He
Guy.
He lives in right now?
I don't think any of the houses they build in now, but we used to own 40 acres. So you know what a family cemetery is?
Yeah. That was all us?
That's all that land that we passed getting to. Yeah.
Do we still own that?
No.
Who sold it?
So the only part that we still own is the cemetery. And your Uncle Clarence's mother's house, which is the house that we... right, that we was out there playing softball and stuff, and so fun. that's what we used to do every year. Our family reunions, big team of softball. I'll pull up some pictures and I'll show you. I got plenty of pictures of the land and just stuff. And we had horses, cows, chickens.
Wait a minute, why y'all get ready to do all this before I was there?
It was the siblings. It was the 14 siblings.
They came together and decided they didn't need it anymore?
It was some other, family drama.
You got to tell me about it. Things off.
Some family drama with some of the older ones that actually... Well, your great-grandmother was the oldest of the 14.
Really?
But, yeah, she raised pretty much all the rest of her siblings and their kids and all that other stuff. So, it was just kind of some stuff with... Some of the immediate ones kind of after her, but they moved away. And then they, people come back like, well, where's this? Animals die. Houses need maintenance. Like, stuff need maintenance. And, my great-grandmother and great-grandmother, they were old. They wasn't working. So who's maintaining this stuff?
Right.
So if you have the same circle of people that's constantly... maintaining, and then you coming back looking for stuff that ain't there.
Right.
Animals die, houses fall apart, so but yeah, it was, I do wish that you guys could have experienced that.
Was so cool. Like
your sister did some of it.
Evangeline?
Yeah.
Like I could throw balls just down the field without worrying about breaking. How cool, like the concept of doing that.
Not even that. We would just walk up at the dirt road.
That's too much. That's too much.
It was extremely
That
hot,
road is
but
long.
it was, you didn't have to walk the whole road. Sometimes we would walk from great grandma's house to Auntie Julia's house. That was a shorter span of the walk, but it was still a pretty decent walk as opposed to from the house to the main road.
Right. Were there like houses, like a bunch of people?
No, it's all field. It was all field.
And it's just field and animals.
Just
Y'all
field.
had to play softball.
The animals wasn't. The animals were. Like I said, I have to pull up pictures and stuff for you. The animals were, so it's like the front part of the house, but actually the gate is still there.
Yeah.
They tore the house and stuff down, but the little gate that used to lead into the main house is still there. So it's like we had the main house, and then we had what we called the blue room, which was, it had a little walkway, and it was another house behind it, which it didn't have as many rooms. It was more like a bigger space. So if we wanted to, like for Thanksgiving and stuff, you know how November everybody would go back to Arkansas for Thanksgiving. So it's like we needed a room where we could just all be and not have these walls and all this stuff in between us. So it was more, it had like 2 bedrooms in it, but it was mainly a bigger room, a kitchen, an open kitchen floor plan, and a couple bathrooms. And then there was the shed in the back. Then there was the hog pen, and then there's like a big area towards the back that a lot of the uncles would put. They had targets back there, so yes, the kids, gun range targets. So they would put bottles and stuff up there, and the older kids they would allow. You had to be at least, can't remember what the age was, but it was a certain age that they wouldn't even let you. Or if you were younger but big enough, then you would kind of be holding, and they would be holding it with you. And so it was usually the shotguns or what was it, the 357 mag.
Dang.
And then there was we had horses. Then there was another building that we built, and it had no rooms in it at all. It wasn't even a bathroom in it. You would have to walk back to the house to go to the bathroom. This was just a room where we were all sitting in. It had like all windows, because the bugs and stuff get ridiculous, but you still wanted to be outside. And then Uncle Guy's trailer was over there, and it was. And then we used to. This funny sitting here looking at the truck. The red truck.
Yeah.
They had a Model T Ford, and they would put a trailer on the back. They would fill it with hay, and they would ride us. But it happened at night so that we could see the scars. And it was funny because Uncle Guy they would drive us out in the field, and then they would turn the lights on the truck and the trailer off. You just imagine how dark that is.
It's dark. I can imagine.
And we would sit there, and then you could just look up, and you would look at the stars. And then they used to play with us, like they would have us thinking animals and stuff is coming, but you never knew because you're out there in the, out there in the wild. You would walk up on a snake every now and then. Most of them were really gardener snakes, because it was cotton. We were surrounded by cotton fields. So then you got your field mice. It was field mice. Yeah, it's a field mouse because there's really no houses, so it's a field mouse. They used to be out in the fields or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely some good times. Like I said, I wish you guys would have been able to experience that. Well, your pawpaw now is trying to give y'all some of that.
Yeah.
With the fact that they now have 15 acres in Arkansas. So it's kind of some of the same feel, just a little different of how I grew up and the stuff that we used to do.
Okay, well I have a sub question from that question. In the main house, who lived in the main house, if somebody lived in there, and if not, what was it? Was it like It wasn't in the middle, was it?
What do you mean?
Like the main house. Was the main house in the middle of everything?
No, like I said, the main house was kind of like up front.
Okay.
Like the main house, you could see all of it from the road, but the main house was the main house, and